Well, it has been an eventful 25 years, and I can say I'm finally back at the Roman Theater here in downtown Amman. This is the centerpiece of ancient Roman Amman, back when it was known as Philadelphia, which was actually its Hellenistic name, that the Romans, like they did similarly in Baalbek with the gods, the Romans adapted and adopted the Hellenic world into the Roman world. They co-opted the gods, the architecture, and often used the Greek place names, as they called Baalbek by its Hellenic name Heliopolis. The Romans kept the Greco-Egyptian name of Amman as Philadelphia. And I've always enjoyed the fact that I'm from the city of Philadelphia in southeastern Pennsylvania in the United States. And I've always enjoyed the fact that Philadelphia has a sister city here in the Levant. For me, it's a way of kind of bringing my worlds together. My original hometown with a great city here in the Middle East. I'm just really happy to be back here. I first came here in 1998 to this theater when I was backpacking from London to Cairo and going all over land, and Jordan was my second to last stop before going to Egypt. And I remember coming to this theater as a young backpacker who was in Europe for the first time, and then the Middle East actually for the second time, because I first came to the Middle East in 1993 on an archaeological expedition when I was very young. And I'm just so excited to be back in this town. And this theater it's absolutely spectacular. I forgot actually not how grand it is. I think I forgot how steep it is. It kind of takes your breath away by the time you get to the top, and it's something I kind of love about it. It's said it was supposed to be able to have sat 6,000 people in the Roman period. Don't know if that's true today with fast food and sugary drinks, but it's still massive. Today it's more of a kind of open air museum. One detail that I love here at the theater is noticing just these little innovations by modern man into the work of the ancients, such as how this metal door and padlock, which look like they were all painted at the same time, were put into this ancient site. Who knows if this was meant to be a storeroom of some kind. It doesn't look like it's ever been used. I mean, ever since it was painted, you can tell that it was all done at one time. But what I love about people today doing things like this in ancient sites, rather than viewing it as something kind of destructive, like, oh, you shouldn't alter that thing, it shows that this theater at the center of Amman, or Philadelphia, is still in use. It is still part of the city. It's not just a remote archaeological park that you take a tour bus to. This is part of a living, breathing city with honking horns and the azan from bouncing off minarets from the mosques around this place. And I think that a little bit of innovation, within short fits is all right, and it's sort of a continuity in the way that the Romans adapted things from the Hellenes, the Greek settlers who had come here under the Ptolemaic period. And Amman was actually called Philadelphia by Ptolemy II, who was a Macedonian Greek pharaoh in Egypt during what is known as the Ptolemaic period, which is the Hellenistic period of ancient Egypt, where the pharaohs were not Semitic people, but they were in fact people from Macedon or Macedonia, not to be confused with the modern state of Macedonia, or North Macedonia if you want to go there, who are actually a Slavic people. But the Macedonians who came to this area were part of a Greek lineage that was ruling Egypt at the time. And I love the details in which the theater has been repaired and upgraded. Here you can notice the difference between the original Roman period limestone blocks and these more present-day cut blocks that were meant to more sort of perfectly reconstruct the theater. And here you can see it on an outer wall in the upper tier, what we would call in the United States the nosebleed seats, if you're going to see, say, a Philadelphia Eagles game way up top. Well, here you would be observing the Philadelphia Romans putting on a play. It was a much different game back then. But yeah, I love that you've got sort of the, you know, the original blocks, and then you have these modern blocks that are undergirding the more ancient pieces. It's just, yeah, I love all the different innovations and adaptations. But the theater is largely intact as it was. There's not too much that has been done to it. I mean, obviously, you know, this where I'm walking right now, these are obviously not the original blocks here in the center. They form kind of a pathway around the theater, and obviously the grounds where the actors would perform and the musicians of the ancient period, obviously that is all new. The theater was built in the 2nd century AD, and I don't know how long it took. I think it was just a few decades to build this. And I just love I love the fact that it's still here. It's just so much part of a living city. It's funny, I actually feel more comfortable having long legs going down, taking these big steps between the seating than the small staircase steps, which are ground down from wind and rain, and basically human erosion over the millennia. Can you imagine what it was like to either perform in this place or just to have been in attendance of the entertainment that was going on here about a little short of 2,000 years ago? The acoustics, you can hear people yelling all over the place in Arabic, and the acoustics are amazing. There's just the design of this place so on point. The way that it's sort of burrowed into the hillside, it's amazing. It's one of those things, it's like, you think to yourself, would anyone know how to do this today? I don't think so. شكرا جزيلا. Here, just a few footsteps, you walk into the Hashemite Plaza. That is the plaza of the monarchy. I think they have ceremonial events here for the Jordanian monarchy. And over here, I believe this is the ruins of the Odeon. There was a temple-like structure on this side of the plaza there are all sorts of stumps from columns, and there are a few behind these trees that are, you can get a sort of a better idea of the scale of the Odeon. I love this. I love this row of columns that are all different heights and broken apart in different places. This owes to the grandeur of the period, and especially this view here of this intact part of the structure with the decorative lintel on top. Oh, it's just amazing. you're taking a walk through time. One thing I don't miss is having to cross the main street here. This does get old. Nobody stops for you, you just gotta gun it. And while Amman has modernized greatly in the last couple of decades, the downtown is still really very much original or authentic, as you might say. And that's kind of refreshing. This is something that places like Dubai and Abu Dhabi and Doha are largely missing. And I think that's what makes Amman an interesting way station between the Levant and the Khalij, or the Gulf as it's called in English, is that it is has more of a compact city center that's populated, and there's a lot of street business activity, there's a lot of informal cash economy, and it seems to me largely unregulated. It's a lot of people just selling stuff on the street, and there's something to be said for that. I like how little the place has changed, at least in the heart of it. One thing that Amman has no shortage of when you're visiting here are white marble staircases. They are everywhere. The city is famously made up of 7 hills, and the downtown, if that's where you stay, in one of the budget hotels, is basically in a valley between all of these hills. And if you're looking to get any kind of a workout, if cardio is your thing, and you don't need to look for a gym in Amman, you just go from downtown basically in any direction, and you've got all of these staircases everywhere. I find it kind of fun, actually. I want to mention something quickly about the parameters of the Jordan Pass, which you absolutely must do if you're coming here. It's almost not worth coming to Jordan without it. But there are a lot of misunderstandings about how it's applied and how it can be used, at least in my experience. First things is, I read and was told that you could only use the pass once per site, except for Petra, where you could pay to use it up to 3 times. But I just used it here at the Citadel. I'm living proof that I've used it more than once to visit the Citadel. The QR code still works when they scan it, and no one has said anything. And the other thing I want to mention is there was another site that in Aqaba, the Aqaba Fort, and there, I think the old man running the gate didn't even know what the Jordan Pass was. He certainly didn't have the device to scan the QR code. So although that's listed as one of the places covered in the pass, it's actually a free site. So and it's applied differently in different places. So in Petra, there's a whole rigmarole of you've got to go to one place and scan. You've got to go to, get the pass scanned on your phone, and then you've got to get a paper ticket, and then go to these other guys and present the paper ticket. Now, one day I presented the paper ticket, and that was good enough. The next day I went back, and the other man who scanned it asked me for my passport to make sure my name corresponded with the paper ticket, but it wasn't asked for the first day. So there are a lot of kind of incongruities with the Jordan Pass. I just wanted to mention that. It's well worth doing. Totally recommend it, but it definitely seems like a system that's still being ironed out. One of the first sites you're likely to come to when visiting Amman is here at the Citadel, which overlooks so much of the city. It's great for its physical ancient history, and also just the vantages of Amman are amazing from up here. The most photogenic and iconic structure here at the Amman Citadel is what remains of the incomplete Temple of Hercules. The temple complex here is thought to date back to the same period, the 2nd century AD, when the Roman theater, which is in the valley down below, was being built. But yeah, this place it's incredible. I've read that some of this was essentially pillaged to build Byzantine structures here on the hill, such as chapels and that kind of thing that were common in the world of Byzantium. Here's what remains of a Byzantine chapel, and you can see that pieces of the temples from the Roman period were used as columns within the chapel. Now, what I'm really after is to find the fingers of the hand of a giant Hercules statue. The fingers are all that remains of it. And I never knew about these on past trips to Amman. And I've been to the Citadel a few times and never found them, or rather didn't know about them. And I almost want to see if I can find them before this place closes, without asking anybody. Am I so glad that I came back to the Amman Citadel to work a little bit more on this video. So behind me are the fingers of the hand of Hercules. And behind the fingers, you can see there is a chunk of Hercules' elbow. So these are thought to be all that remains of a colossus that were related obviously to the Temple of Hercules. And I've been to this citadel a couple of times in the past, and I never knew about the fragments of the hand. There's a lot of mystery surrounding these fragments, mainly where is the rest of the statue, and you know, when was it made and how big was it and so forth. It's estimated based on the fingers and the elbow that it would have been about somewhere between 12 and 13 meters, just gauging if everything was proportionate to these fragments of extremities. And Hercules was adapted from the Greek god Heracles, and this colossus could have possibly been the biggest statue in the world at the time. And yeah, I'm just so happy that I came back here today. And just look at these parts and try and use your imagination as to just how big the Colossus of Hercules would have been nearly 2 millennia ago. Now, some of the mysteries surrounds this is, you know, where is the rest of Hercules? And, you know, he may have been destroyed in an earthquake, or it could have just broken apart. The Colossus could have broken apart over time, and maybe its pieces were used for other things like building homes or making gravestones. I think there are a lot of possibilities as to what could have happened. The Citadel is great, especially, I have to say, it's especially good at the end of the day when nobody else is here. You be careful out there.